When I was 6 years old, a DNA test slapped me across the face. Not literally. Nobody in the Whitmore family slapped children. My mother cried too easily. My father apologized to houseplants when he bumped into them, and my older brother Noah believed emotional damage could be inflicted more efficiently with silence. But that piece of paper might as well have had fingers. Black ink. White paper. Harper Whitmore, was not Daniel and Claire Whitmore's biological daughter. That night, I packed my tiny backpack with 3 juice boxes, a stuffed rabbit, a plastic tiara, and all the cash I had in the world, $27.43. Then I ran away. Welcome to Bibliophile Princess channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Story begins. I made it as far as the food truck lot behind a strip mall on the edge of Willow Creek, Massachusetts. The whole place smelled like charcoal, fried onions, and poor decisions. I sat on a wobbly folding stool beside a taco truck and paid $20 to a guy at the barbershop next door to spray my hair neon yellow. By the time Noah found me, I looked like a small lightning strike with bangs. I was bent over a napkin, writing solemnly with a blue crayon. Noah's face was black with rage, which was impressive because he was 13 and had already mastered the look of a disappointed CEO. He grabbed the back of my hoodie and lifted me off the stool like I was a grocery bag. "Harper Whitmore," he said. "You're 6. Why are you writing a will?" I clutched the napkin to my chest. "This isn't a will." "Then what is it?" It's a yellow hair attachment agreement." Noah stared at me. I stared back with the seriousness of a person who had just discovered life was a lawsuit. "According to novel law," I said, "when the real heiress comes home, the fake daughter gets hated by the whole family, thrown out, and freezes to death under a bridge." Noah's eyebrow twitched. "But according to an even stronger law," I continued, "every rich girl and good girl has a trashy yellow-haired delinquent who follows her around and can never be shaken off." Noah said nothing. "So from now on," I declared, "I'm not going to be the Whitmore princess." I pointed at my radioactive hair. "I'm going to be the Whitmore yellow-haired delinquent. When the real daughter comes back, none of you will ever get rid of me." For 3 seconds, Noah was silent. Then he lost his mind. "You are 6. Who let you read this garbage?" He spun toward the barbershop and shouted, "And which one of you sprayed my little sister like a traffic cone?" A young barber poked his head out, terrified. "It washes out, man. It's temporary." Noah pressed a hand to his chest like I had personally shortened his life expectancy. Looking at his half-dead expression, I finally relaxed a little. Good. I could still make him angry. That meant I hadn't been abandoned yet. The real daughter came home on a perfect blue morning. The sky looked scrubbed clean. The lawn at the Whitmore estate sparkled from the sprinklers. The big white house, with its columns and shining windows, looked like the setting of a luxury real estate commercial where everyone pretended families didn't have secrets. I stood by the front steps with my hair washed mostly clean, though a faint yellow stain still clung to the ends like destiny had left a highlighter mark. A black Bentley rolled up the driveway. The door opened. A little girl stepped out holding the housekeeper's hand. She was smaller than me, pale as milk, with huge dark eyes and features so delicate she looked like a porcelain doll somebody forgot to put on a shelf. She wore a faded gray hoodie, scuffed sneakers, and a backpack that had clearly survived several wars. She did not look at us. She tilted her face upward and stared at the empty air. "Black letters," she murmured. "Red letters. Huh. That one's hard to read." I narrowed my eyes. "Beautiful?"
"Yes." "Smart?"
"Unclear." I edged closer to Noah and whispered, "For safety, you should check Mom and Dad's family tree tonight."
Noah looked down at me.
"Why?" "I'm worried there may have been some cousin marriage." Noah smiled without warmth and pinched my lips shut. "Stop talking." MMPH. Across the driveway, Mom and Dad were already sobbing. "Iris. Oh, my baby girl." The girl's name before coming home was apparently complicated, or maybe nobody knew for sure. Mom renamed her Iris Whitmore because she said the name sounded like something delicate that had survived the rain. Iris stiffened when Mom hugged her. Her eyes stayed fixed on the air above Dad's head. Dad cried so hard his nose turned red. Sweetheart, you've suffered so much. Iris slowly lowered her gaze to him, then looked back up. Your words say golden retriever himbo, she said. Dad's crying cut off. Mom froze. Noah's hand slid away from my mouth. I immediately clapped. Accurate. Noah glared at me. Mom wiped her eyes. Honey, what did you say? Iris tilted her head. I can see words, she said. Above people. Everyone has them. My interest sharpened. What does mine say? Iris looked at me. Her dark eyes reflected my face, my stained yellow hair, my clenched fists. After a moment, she read slowly. Wicked fake daughter. The air went still. Kicked out of the Whitmore family at 18. Mom's face drained of color. Dad stopped breathing. Noah's eyes went cold. Iris finished. Freezes to death under an overpass. Nobody spoke. I let out a tiny breath. Honestly, it could have been worse. At least it wasn't 7. I had 12 years to save money. On Iris's first night home, I dragged her into my bedroom for an intelligence test. She sat on my rug holding a stuffed duck, quiet as a toy with the batteries removed. I took out a glucose tablet from my emergency snack drawer and held it in front of her. Do you see this? Iris nodded. Do you want it? She nodded again. Hold out your hand. She obediently held out her palm. I placed the tablet in it. Good job. Noah opened the door at that exact moment. He stared at us. Harper, he said flatly, are you training the real heiress? It's called building a reward system. She's not a puppy. Iris put the tablet in her mouth. Then she got on her hands and knees, crawled over to me, and bumped her head gently against my palm. I patted her hair. Good dog. Harper. Noah's shout made my ears ring, but Iris closed her eyes and looked pleased. Sister, she said softly. Pet again. I froze.
Sister.
She called me sister. The 76 defensive speeches I had prepared in my head collapsed like badly stacked blocks. I cleared my throat and looked away.
Don't call me that.
I'm the fake daughter. But the words above me say you're my sister. Iris said.
I snapped my head back around.
Do they say anything else? Like whether sisters split inheritance evenly? Noah snorted. Give up. I looked up at him. What do your words say? Iris turned to Noah. She stared for a long time. Her expression changed from blank to confused, then slowly to frightened. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Brother's words say. Noah's face remained still. 19. Iris swallowed. Falls. Silence. Dies. The room turned cold. For 1 second, something flickered in Noah's eyes. Then he smiled. Lazy.
Cold.
Careless. Superstitious nonsense. I don't believe in that stuff. I smiled too.
Yeah.
Me neither. That night, I emptied my piggy bank and used Dad's computer to order a child safety harness, window locks, and a book called Preventing Household Falls. The next morning, Noah opened his bedroom door and found a sign taped across it. Love your life. Stay away from windows. Under it, I had drawn a yellow-haired stick figure dragging a black-haired boy away from a balcony. Noah stood there for a full minute. Then he shouted, Harper. I poked my head over the banister. Yes, endangered species? My parents were beautiful idiots in the purest sense. They were gorgeous, rich, affectionate, and mentally about 3 seconds behind every conversation. When they learned Iris could see fate words, their first reaction wasn't fear. It was crying. Mom hugged Iris and sobbed. Is my baby seeing these things because she was lonely for so long? Dad hugged me and sobbed. Did Harper spray her hair like a caution sign because she thought we didn't want her? Then they hugged each other. Then, still crying, they grabbed Noah too. Is Noah's fate terrible because he's under too much pressure? Mom wailed. Noah was trapped between them with the expression of a cat being forced into a Christmas sweater. Enough, he said. I sat nearby taking notes. Whitmore family traits: attractive faces, unstable intelligence, excessive emotional output. Noah glanced at my notebook, snatched it, and read the line. You're stable at least. I lifted my chin. Of course. I'm consistently horrible.
He stared at me.
From that day on, the house became weird. Dad hired a priest, then a paranormal consultant, then a retired physics professor who claimed ghosts were misunderstood vibrations. Mom hired a child psychologist. Noah hired extra security. I called a gold dealer. Using my kid's smartwatch, I whispered, "Hello, sir. I would like to buy gold bars." The man on the other end laughed. "Little lady, why do you need gold bars?" "For survival after I get kicked out at 18. There was a pause. "Are your parents home?"
No.
"They're busy crying. I did not acquire gold bars." Noah found out, dragged me home, and placed me on the living room couch. He stood over me with his arms crossed. "Harper, do you really think we're going to throw you out?" I looked up. "It's not about thinking. It's risk management." His expression changed. He crouched in front of me, his dark hair falling over his forehead. "Nobody is throwing you out." I said nothing. "Did you hear me?" Still nothing. "You are Harper Whitmore," Noah said. "Our Harper." My throat tightened. "If anybody decides they don't want you," he said, voice low, "I'll stop wanting them first." Something hard inside my chest cracked. Only a little. I immediately shoved it back into place.
Noah.
"What? If you're making promises, can you also write, 'Oh, well, leaving me your game console and bank account'?" He closed his eyes. "Get out." The Hawthorns lived next door if a mansion half a mile through the woods counted as next door. Their family was old New England money mixed with old New England weirdness. Rumor said they had ancestors in Salem, a library full of spellbooks, and at least one mirror that whispered tax advice. Their grandson, Miles Hawthorne, was supposedly a once-in-a-century occult prodigy. He saw spirits at 3, drew protective symbols at 5, and helped his grandfather cleanse a haunted inn at 7. He also wet the bed for 3 nights afterward. The first time he came to me for help, he stood on our porch hugging a damp blanket, crying like a ghost had chased him. "Harper," he hiccuped, "I dreamed about the headless man again. Can I stay here?" I opened the door and looked at his red eyes. Then I looked at the suspicious blanket. "You're 7. I know. 7 is basically grown." He nodded miserably. "And when grown people wet the bed," I said, "they pay cleaning fees." Miles cried harder. Noah appeared behind me. His face went dark. "You again?" Miles straightened immediately. "Hi, Noah." "I'm not high." Miles hid behind me. "He's scary." I patted his shoulder. "Don't worry. He's supposed to fall off a building at 19. He won't be scary for long." "Harper." Iris crawled out from the living room, a glucose tablet tucked in her cheek. She looked up at Miles and blinked. "Your words say male lead." Miles stopped crying. "What's that?" Iris stared harder. "Occult prodigy. Protects the heroine. Marries me." Miles stumbled backward. "No!" Everyone turned to him. Tears filled his eyes again. "I don't want to marry anybody. I want to run a grilled cheese truck." Silence. I placed a solemn hand on his shoulder. "Respect." Noah looked at all 3 of us with deep exhaustion. "What are you kids reading?" "Destiny," I said. Noah gave a cold laugh. "Destiny needs better editors." After Iris came home, the words appeared more often. Sometimes at dinner, she would look at Dad and say, "Your words say you'll choke on a fishbone this afternoon." Dad would immediately put down his salmon. 5 minutes later, he would choke on water instead and cough like he was leaving the earth. Iris would blink and say, "Maybe the words have typos." Sometimes she would look at Mom and say, "Your words say you'll lose money today." Mom would open a shopping app at once. Well, if it's already predicted, it would be wasteful not to buy something. Dad clapped. "Brilliant, sweetheart." I wrote in my notebook, "Cause of future Whitmore financial crisis. Fate words plus online shopping." But the words above me, Noah, Iris, and Miles never changed. Mine. Wicked fake daughter. Kicked out at 18. Freezes to death. Iris's true daughter. Suffers greatly. Finally gets her happy ending. Noah's 19.
Falls. Dies.
Miles's male lead. Occult prodigy. Protects the heroine for life. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Why did everyone else get a full character arc? I got wicked and dead. So I made a decision. I would become the brightest yellow-haired delinquent in all of Willow Creek. If I acted ridiculous enough, fate would lose the original road. I made a video account called Yellowhair Harper. My bio read, suspended for 9,999 days. Loyalty level, 9,999 pounds. In my first video, I wore sunglasses and sat on my pink tricycle while aggressive club music played in the background. I said, from now on, anyone who messes with Iris messes with me. I lowered my shades. Anyone who messes with Noah messes with me. I paused. Anyone who messes with me messes with my parents. Another pause. And anyone who messes with my parents? I leaned closer to the camera. Good luck with that. The video got 23 views. 20 were from Miles. The other 3 were Noah clicking in to mock me. He commented, "Preschool mafia?" I replied, "Future falling hazard, stay quiet." He reported my account. Reason: harmful influence on minors. I was banned for 7 days. When Iris and I started first grade, the entire school knew about the real daughter and the fake daughter before lunch. That was because my parents had no sense of proportion. They sent us to school in 2 cars. A pink Rolls-Royce with a banner that said, "Congratulations, Harper," and a blue Bentley with a banner that said, "Congratulations, Iris." I sat in the back seat dead inside. Iris pressed her face to the window, eyes shining. "Sister, so many people are looking at us." "They're not looking at us," I said. "They're watching 2 mobile psychiatric events arrive." Sure enough, at recess, a girl in a designer dress came over with 2 followers.
She pointed at me.
"You're the fake Whitmore?" I nodded. Then she pointed at Iris. "And she's the real one?" "Correct." The girl smirked. "Then why are you still living with them?" "If it were me, I'd be too embarrassed to stay." Before I could answer, Iris lifted her head. She stared at the air above the girl for a while. "Your words say you'll fall in the bathroom today." The girl's face changed. "Are you cursing me?" "No," Iris said. "You'll step on a banana peel, rush into the girl's room, and land on the floor right after the janitor mops." The girl shoved Iris. I grabbed my backpack and swung. "Don't touch her." The classroom exploded. 30 minutes later, both sets of parents were in the principal's office. Mom entered crying beautifully. Our Harper was protecting her sister. What did she do wrong? Dad cried louder. Our Iris grew up in an off-grid spiritual retreat. She's just honest. The principal rubbed his temples. She told a classmate she would fall in the bathroom. Before he could finish, a scream came from the hallway. The designer dress girl had fallen in the girls' bathroom. Everyone went silent. Iris tugged my sleeve. "Sister, should we go see?" "No," I said. "It'll ruin lunch." After that, nobody insulted us to our faces. Behind our backs, though, people whispered, "Harper will get kicked out eventually. Iris is the real daughter." Fake daughters can't stay arrogant forever. I pretended not to care. That night, Noah knocked on my bedroom door and found me writing a new plan. Survival plan after 18. Sell gold bars. Open a food stand. Steal Miles's grilled cheese business. Noah stood behind me for a long time. Then he tapped my head with his knuckles. "Doesn't hurt, right?" I held my head. Emotionally, yes. He sat beside me. "Harper, how many times do I have to say it?" I looked down. No number works.
"Why?"
"Because you share blood. I don't." The room went quiet. Noah looked at me, and the sharpness in his eyes sank into something softer. "Let me ask you something," he said. "Blood left Iris away from home for 6 years." I froze. "Love made Mom and Dad search for her for 6 years," he continued. "Which one do you think matters more?" I didn't answer. "You didn't stay in this family because of blood," Noah said. "You stayed because you cried here, laughed here, made trouble here, and annoyed me 800 times.
My eyes stung.
We raised you. You called them Mom and Dad. You called me your brother." His voice softened. "That's enough." To hide my tears, I added a 4th item to my plan. Sell Noah if necessary. Noah saw it and took my pen away. Confiscated. Time passed quickly. Iris grew from a quiet little girl who crawled across carpets for candy into the most famous cold-faced beauty in school.
She was also terrifying.
She could pin 3 boys to the ground before any of them remembered to be embarrassed.
But she still didn't know how to talk to people.
Someone said, "You're so pretty." Iris replied, "Thank you. You have dandruff." Someone confessed, "I think I like you." Iris replied, "Your soul has poor hygiene." Eventually, everyone learned not to mess with Iris, because behind Iris stood Harper. Behind Harper stood Noah. And behind Noah stood nobody, because nobody had the courage to stand behind Noah. When Noah turned 19, the words above his head grew clearer. Iris stared at him more and more. One afternoon, she whispered, "His words are read now." My heart dropped. "How long?" She shook her head. "I can't read it." Noah remained calm. By then, he had started working part-time at Whitmore Holdings. In a black suit, he looked less like an angry teenage cat and more like an angry young CEO cat. I texted him daily safety reminders. Today is a good day to avoid tall buildings. Today is a bad day to stand near windows. If anyone invites you to a rooftop, make them jump first. He always replied the same way, "Get lost." But he stopped going to high floors. Even company meetings moved from the top floor to the 3rd. Employees whispered that the young Mr. Whitmore was afraid of heights. I was delighted. Fear of heights saved lives. Unfortunately, destiny was not ready to give up. On Noah's 19th birthday, Miles Hawthorne came back. At 15, his grandfather had dragged him across the country for training. He was gone for 3 years. When he returned, he stood at our front door tall and lean, wearing a white button-down and black pants, holding an insulated food carrier. I opened the door. His face lit up. "Harper." I looked him up and down. "Why are you tall now?"
He looked shy.
"Maybe grilled cheese has growth properties." "What's in the carrier?" "Experimental grilled cheese melts. I made them." Iris came down the stairs. The second she saw him, she stopped. Her eyes lifted. Her face turned white. "Sister." My stomach clenched. "The words are back." "What do they say?" Iris's voice trembled. "Male lead returns." Miles dropped the food carrier. Plot restarts. Melted cheese spilled across the floor. "Tonight," Iris whispered, "brother dies." I turned and ran upstairs. Noah. His bedroom was empty. His study was empty. The living room was empty. His phone rang and rang without answer. A housekeeper said, "Mr. Noah took a call and left for the Gull Point warehouse." My blood went cold. Gull Point Harbor. Whitmore Holdings had recently bought the old Docklands. The tallest warehouse there was 6 stories. If fate wanted Noah to fall, it had chosen the perfect place. I ran for the door. Iris followed. Miles chased us, pale but determined. "Get in," he said. "I know a shortcut." The Gull Point warehouse had been abandoned for years. Wind blew through broken windows and rattled the sheet metal like bones. By the time we arrived, night had swallowed the harbor. Noah's car sat outside. The driver's door hung open. He was nowhere in sight. Iris suddenly clutched her head and crouched. "So many words," she gasped. "Sister, there are so many." I grabbed her shoulders. "What do they say?" Her eyes reddened. "Fake daughter envies true daughter. Sets up brother's death." My hands went cold. Whitmore family hates fake daughter. Her breath shook. Kicked out at 18. Freezes under an overpass. Again. Always the same garbage. I almost laughed from anger. Can't they write something new? Miles pulled folded papers covered in symbols from his bag. His hands were shaking. "My grandfather told me fate words aren't fate," he said. "They're false endings written by resentment. Someone is using fear to create a story." I looked up at the warehouse. A pale light glowed on the 6th floor. Suddenly, I understood. Since Iris came home, the words had been guiding us. They made me afraid. Made my parents unstable. Made Iris guilty. Made Noah walk toward death. As long as we believed, a lie could become real. I clenched my teeth. Then tonight we find the author. We rushed inside. The stairwell was damp and freezing. The higher we climbed, the louder the wind became. Under it I heard something else. Laughter.
Thin. Broken.
Pull. On the 6th floor, a metal door stood half open. A woman's voice drifted through.
Don't blame me, Noah.
As long as you're alive, Whitmore Holdings will never be mine. I pushed the door open. The top floor was a wide concrete platform with broken railings and shattered windows. Noah sat tied to a chair, pale, blood at the corner of his mouth. Standing beside him was my father's younger sister, Vivian Whitmore. Aunt Vivian was always gentle. Every Christmas, she bought me dresses and touched my head, saying, "Harper is our family too." It turned out the person who wanted me gone most had been smiling at me for years. Vivian turned when she saw us. Her smile widened. Perfect timing. Her eyes landed on me. "Harper, sweetheart, you were always so disobedient." My hands curled into fists. "Was it you? Did you switch Iris and me?" Vivian laughed softly. "Yes." The sound crawled over my skin. "When your mother gave birth, I paid a nurse to trade the babies. I planned to reveal the truth when you were older. I wanted chaos, suspicion, hatred." She looked at Noah, and her eyes filled with poison. But Noah was too smart. At 10, he started digging into hospital records. Noah lifted his head. His voice was hoarse. "So the car accident was you too?" Vivian clapped gently. "Very good." My mind roared. When Noah was 10, he had been in a terrible car accident. He spent months recovering. Afterward, he became colder, quieter, harder to reach. We all thought it was bad luck. It was Vivian. She looked back at me. "I did like you, Harper. Smart, ruthless, a little like me." Her smile faded. "But you got in the way." She gestured around the platform. "Tonight, Noah dies here. You, the jealous fake daughter, take the blame. Iris breaks. Your parents drown in grief." She touched her chest. "And Whitmore Holdings comes to me." A cold wind swept the room. Black words crawled across the concrete walls. "Wicked fake daughter kills brother. True daughter loses family. Male lead saves heroine. Whitmore family collapses." Iris covered her ears, trembling. Miles tried to chant, but the wind shoved him sideways. Vivian laughed like something cracked open inside her. "This is my fate wraith. I've fed it fear for 16 years. The black words pulsed. The more you're afraid, the stronger it gets." Her eyes glittered. "So, Harper, are you scared?" I looked at the crawling words. Then I smiled. "Yes." Vivian smiled too. "Of course I'm scared." I reached into my pocket. But yellow-hair delinquents don't obey destiny. I pulled out a can of neon yellow hair spray and blasted it over my head. The color shone bright and ugly and glorious. Yellow as a warning sign. Yellow as bad decisions. Yellow as lightning tearing through a black sky. I raised my hand and flipped off the writing on the wall. "Rewrite that." Vivian's smile froze. "Are you insane?" I turned to Iris. "Iris." She lifted her head through the pane. "Look at them clearly," I shouted. "Those words aren't heaven. They're trash." Black letters thrashed across the walls. "They say you're the heroine," I yelled. "So what? Do you have to cry until some guy saves you?" Iris's eyes filled with tears. "They say I'm the wicked fake daughter. Do I have to freeze under an overpass?" "No," she whispered. "They say Noah dies. Does he have to?" Her voice shook.
No.
"Then choose." Iris slowly stood. "I don't want to be the heroine." Her voice grew steadier. "I want to be my sister's muscle." I grinned through the terror. "Good dog." Iris lunged. She moved like a white flash. One of Vivian's guards stepped forward and immediately hit the floor. Miles bit his finger, smeared blood across one of his papers, and shouted with a cracking voice, "Ancestors of the Hawthorne family, please note that I do not want to be a male lead." The wind screamed, "I want to sell grilled cheese." He threw the papers into the air. "But today, I'm borrowing fire." Gold flames burst from the symbols. The black writing on the walls twisted and shrieked as if burned. Vivian stumbled back.
No.
No, that's impossible. I ran to Noah and fumbled with the rope around his wrists. My hands shook so badly I could barely work the knot. Can you walk? Noah looked at my blazing yellow hair. Even pale and bruised, he managed to smile. You look awful. My eyes burned. If you die, I'll wear this hairstyle to your grave every day and dance on it. His voice was rough. Then I'd better live. Before I could finish freeing him, Vivian screamed. She pulled a knife from her sleeve and rushed at Noah. If I lose, we all lose. I didn't think. I threw myself in front of him. The blade sliced across my shoulder. Pain flashed white. Noah's face changed. Harper. With a sudden, violent jerk, he snapped the last piece of rope and kicked Vivian away. But the movement threw him off balance. Behind him, the railing was broken. Noah. I grabbed for him. Almost. His body tipped over the edge. I caught his right hand. Iris caught his left. Miles grabbed Iris around the waist. The harbor wind roared. Below us, the dark water looked bottomless. Noah looked up at me. His voice was quiet. Let go. My eyes went hot. Say that again and see what happens. You'll all fall. Blood ran from my shoulder down my arm. My fingers slipped, then tightened again. Noah Whitmore. I said through my teeth. You promised to stay with me until I'm 80. His eyes reddened. If you die, I shouted, I'll edit your memorial photo so you have neon yellow hair. Even hanging off a building. Noah looked offended. You're horrible. Climb, Miles screamed. I can't hold on. Just as all of us began sliding toward the edge, a blinding light shot up from below. Sirens split the night. Dad's voice echoed through a megaphone, raw and furious. Whoever touched my children, I will destroy you. Mom was sobbing somewhere beneath him. Harper, Iris, Noah. Police swarmed the building. Rescue workers rushed onto the platform. Security guards followed. Hands grabbed us from every direction and dragged us back over the edge. I collapsed on top of Noah and sobbed like I was 6 again. Noah shook all over. Slowly, he lifted a hand and pressed it to my head. It was the first time he had ever really patted my hair. Why are you crying? He murmured. I'm not dead. I buried my face against him. You told me to let go. He went silent. Then he said, I'm sorry. I cried harder. Sorry isn't enough. His chest moved with a broken laugh. What do you want? Money. His voice was hoarse, but I heard the smile in it. Fine. Vivian was arrested. The fate wraith she had raised was burned nearly to dust by Miles's borrowed fire. His grandfather arrived later in a long black coat, furious enough to scare the police. The old man found Miles sitting on the curb with cheese still on his shoe. Who told you to use blood symbols without permission? Miles lowered his head. It was an emergency. Don't talk back to me. Miles looked up with red eyes. Grandpa, I don't want to be an occult prodigy. Everyone went quiet. I want to open a grilled cheese truck. His grandfather's face shifted through anger, disbelief, and exhaustion. Finally, he sighed. Then, open one. Miles blinked. The old man turned away. His voice roughened. Our family drove out evil so people could live in peace. If grilled cheese gives people peace, perhaps that counts. Miles burst into tears. I nodded from my ambulance blanket. Excellent. The occult world was entering the restaurant industry. Vivian's case uncovered everything. The hospital switch. Noah's staged accident. Years of stolen company money. When my parents learned the full truth, they cried so hard the lights in the hospital hallway flickered. Mom held Iris and me together. My daughters both suffered. Dad clung to Noah. My son almost died. Noah looked like he might suffocate. He sent me a silent plea for help. I looked away. He had told me to let go. He deserved extra hugging. When the media discovered the real fake daughter story, reporters swarmed our gates. One of them asked Dad, Mr. Whitmore, how do you plan to divide inheritance between the 2 girls? Dad sobbed into a handkerchief. Equally, obviously. Another reporter said, but Harper isn't biologically. Mom stepped out of the car before he could finish. Her makeup was ruined. Her eyes were swollen. She wore heels sharp enough to qualify as weapons. Who said she isn't my real daughter? The reporter froze. I held her when she lost her first tooth. Mom snapped, crying harder with every word. I stayed up all night when she had a fever at 7. Her father framed her first perfect spelling test. I taught her how to handle her first period. I have cleaned vomit out of her hair. Dad raised his hand. I helped with the vomit. Mom pointed at the cameras. Anyone who calls my daughter fake again can explain it in court. Dad added, and I'll camp outside their office with a sign. The reporter backed away. That night, the internet exploded. The Whitmores defend both daughters. Yellow-haired heiress saves brother. Fake daughter? Real family. My banned childhood video account suddenly gained 3 million followers. The comments were full of strangers yelling, "Yellow hair queen. Can I join your gang? Do you accept college students as henchmen?" I replied, "Bring straight A's first." On my 18th birthday, the fate words appeared for the last time. The Whitmores threw me a coming-of-age party at home. There was no battle between real and fake daughters. No one threw me out. No overpass. No freezing. Just Mom and Dad crying until their faces got blotchy, Iris handing me an enormous bag of glucose tablets, and Miles rolling a grilled cheese cart into the ballroom like it was a royal carriage. Then there was Noah. He stood in the middle of the room in a black suit, calm and unreadable, holding a folder. I eyed it suspiciously. "You're not giving me company stock, are you?" He raised an eyebrow. "You don't want it?" I held out both hands. "I do." He gave me the folder. 5% of Whitmore Holdings, he said. And the Gull Point Harbor Project. I froze. Gull Point. The place that had nearly taken him from us. Noah watched me quietly. "It's going to be an amusement park," he said. "You can name it." I looked down at the papers. My vision blurred. I sniffed. Yellow Hair Park. Noah's expression died. He reached for the folder. "Give it back." I clutched it to my chest. "No refunds." Iris leaned close and looked above my head. Then she smiled. My heart jumped. "What do you see?" The words changed. The room fell quiet. I swallowed. "What do they say?" Iris read slowly. "Harper Whitmore." My fingers tightened around the folder. "Whitmore daughter." Mom covered her mouth. "Hard to kill." Dad started crying again. "Long on luck." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Noah looked at me. There was the faintest smile in his eyes. Miles whispered, "What about me? Do I still say male-led?" Iris glanced above him.
No.
Miles exhaled in relief. "It says grilled cheese owner." His face lit up. "Perfect." I asked, "Does it say whether business is good?" Iris studied the air. "It says my sister will charge him protection fees." Miles stared at me. I smiled. Destiny finally makes sense. Years later, Willow Creek really did get Yellow Hair Park. On opening day, I was 25. Iris had become a mixed martial arts champion and a children's mental health advocate. She still didn't talk much, but kids adored her because her pockets were always full of glucose tablets. Miles turned his grilled cheese cart into a regional chain called Hawthorne Melts. His slogan was, "We may not banish ghosts, but we destroy hunger." As for Noah, he survived 19, then 20, then 25, and became the most terrifying executive in all of Massachusetts. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, he stood beside me and stared at the giant park mascot over the entrance. It had neon yellow hair, sunglasses, and rode a tricycle. Noah's face was complicated. "Harper." "Yes. You truly think that thing looks good?" I admired the mascot. "It has soul." It scared the soul out of me. I turned to him.
Noah. What?
"When I was little, you said if anyone didn't want me, you'd stop wanting them first." He was quiet for a moment. "Yes. Does that still count?" He looked at me for a long time. Then he lifted a hand and tapped my head lightly with his knuckles. "It counts." I smiled. "Then you have to live a long time. Until you're 80, 90, 85. 100. Harper, don't push your luck. I linked my arm through his, the way I had always wanted to when I was small, and scared he might pull away. This time he didn't. Sunlight fell over our shoulders. I thought of that night when I was 6, sitting outside a food truck with cheap yellow spray in my hair, determined to become someone impossible to abandon. Back then, I thought I had to be loud, ridiculous, and impossible to ignore if I wanted to stay. Later, I learned the truth. People who love you don't need you to be any particular color. Black hair, yellow hair, messy hair, bad temper, sharp tongue, a notebook full of risk plans. They will still drag you home. They will still tell you, don't be scared. There is a place for you here. Always. After the ribbon was cut, Miles ran over with his food cart. Harper. New flavor. Yellow hair limited edition. I stared at the grilled cheese covered in golden shredded cheddar. For 2 seconds, I was silent. Miles. Yeah, are you trying to pay double protection fees? Iris raised her hand seriously. Sister, I can hit him. Miles fled behind his cart. Mom and Dad laughed so hard they leaned on each other. Noah stood beside me, his mouth curving slightly. Across the park, the speakers chimed. Welcome to Yellow Hair Park. A bright, cheerful voice continued. Our motto is simple. If fate writes a bad story, tear it up and write your own. I looked up at the clear sky. There were no black words. No prophecy. No wicked fake daughter. Only wind, sunlight, and the life I had finally taken back with both hands. The end. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Comment down below what you'd like to see next. See you in the next one.